Right now, a crisis is quietly building that most people have absolutely no idea is happening. And by the time the majority of people figure it out, it's going to be too late to do anything about it. Food prices are about to jump in a way that is going to shock most American households, and the reason why has nothing to do with what the mainstream media is focusing on. There is a hidden chain reaction happening right now, one that connects a military conflict thousands of miles away directly to the food on your dinner table. And if you are not paying attention to this, you are already behind. In this video, we are going to break down exactly what is happening, why it matters more than almost anything else in the news right now, and most importantly, what you can do about it starting today, because the window to get ahead of this is not weeks away, it is right now. So stay with us until the end, because the action plan we lay out in the final part of this video could genuinely make a real difference for you and your family in the months ahead. Welcome to Food Decider. If this is your first time here, we cover everything you need to make smarter decisions about food, preparedness, and protecting your household. Make sure you hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe so you never miss a video like this one. Now, let's get into it. There is a narrow strip of water sitting between the Arabian Peninsula and Iran that most people have never thought about once in their lives. It is called the Strait of Hormuz, and right now it is at the center of one of the most serious threats to global food security that we have seen in years. This strait is not just a body of water, it is one of the most critical shipping corridors on the entire planet. A massive percentage of the world's energy exports flow through it every single day, and when conflict disrupts it, the consequences ripple outward in ways that most people never see coming. The current war involving Iran has led to attacks on tankers and fuel infrastructure throughout this region. Commercial vessels are now actively avoiding the route. Shipping companies are rerouting, insurance costs are exploding, and every single day that this corridor remains unstable, the global supply chain takes another hit. Most of the coverage around this situation has focused almost entirely on oil and fuel prices. And yes, oil has already climbed above $100 a barrel, and fuel prices are rising fast in many parts of the country. That part of the story has gotten some attention, but what is being almost completely ignored is something far more alarming when you think about it from the perspective of everyday life, and that is what is happening to fertilizer. Here is the part that most people do not know. Roughly 1/3 of the world's nitrogen-based fertilizers, the kind that modern agriculture absolutely depends on, normally passes through the Strait of Hormuz before it reaches farmers and agricultural markets around the world. Nitrogen fertilizer, including compounds like urea, is not optional for modern crop production. It is the foundation of how we grow the massive quantities of food needed to feed billions of people. Without it, yields drop. Without it, farmers produce less, and without it, the food supply tightens in ways that hit every single person who buys groceries. With shipping through this corridor now severely disrupted, supply chains for fertilizer are tightening rapidly, and the market is already responding. Fertilizer prices have already surged more than 30% in certain markets. Inventories in the United States and Canada are sitting significantly below normal levels for this time of year, and major agricultural organizations, including the American Farm Bureau Federation, have already begun calling on the government to step in and protect fertilizer shipments. When organizations like that start sounding the alarm publicly, it's worth taking seriously. And here's where it connects directly to your grocery bill. Fertilizer is one of the single largest input costs in growing staple crops. We're talking about corn, wheat, rice, soybeans, the crops that form the backbone of the entire food system. When fertilizer gets more expensive or harder to source, farmers face a brutal set of choices. They can apply less fertilizer, which reduces their yields, they can delay or reduce how much land they plant, or they can shift to crops that require fewer inputs, which disrupts supply in other parts of the market. Every single one of those outcomes means smaller harvests. Smaller harvests mean tighter grain supplies, and tighter grain supplies mean higher prices at the grocery store. This is not speculation. This is how the system works, and it is already being set in motion. What makes this situation especially dangerous right now is that the fuel crisis and the fertilizer crisis are not two separate problems. They are deeply interconnected, and they are feeding each other in a way that economists are calling a perfect storm for global food systems. Higher energy prices make it more expensive to produce fertilizer in the first place. They make it more expensive to transport fertilizer once it is produced, and they make it more expensive for farmers to run their equipment and bring their harvests to market. Every link in the food supply chain gets squeezed at the same time, and the pressure compounds with every passing week that this conflict continues. And here's the reality that most people are not yet facing. There is no clear exit strategy from this conflict. There is no obvious off-ramp that brings stability back to the region in the near term, which means the disruptions we are seeing right now are not a short-term blip. This could be the new norm.
And as the full picture of what this means for everyday life becomes clearer to more and more people, the reaction is going to be fast and it is going to be intense. Panic buying is coming. That is not an exaggeration. Right now, most people are still in that early stage of awareness where they know something is going on, but they have not yet connected the dots to their own lives. They have not yet thought about what it means that fertilizer prices are up 30%. They have not yet made the mental leap from a conflict in the Middle East to their local grocery store shelves, but that is going to change. And when it does, it is going to change quickly. Reports are going to start coming out. Articles are going to start circulating, and the moment people start seeing just how serious this supply chain disruption really is, you are going to see a run on stores that looks a lot like what we have seen before. Modern grocery stores are not built to absorb that kind of demand shock. They operate on what is called a just-in-time model, which means they carry minimal inventory and rely on frequent, steady deliveries to keep shelves stocked. Even a short disruption in that delivery chain can empty a store within days. When you layer panic buying on top of an already stressed supply chain, shelves can go bare fast. The people who act now, before that wave hits, are going to be in a completely different position than the people who wait. And the timing here makes everything more urgent. We are heading into spring. Growing season is right around the corner. This is the exact window when farmers, home gardeners, and agricultural suppliers all need fertilizer most. The demand is about to spike at the exact same moment that supply is being choked off. That combination is going to drive prices even higher and make availability even tighter in the coming weeks. If you have been thinking about starting a garden or expanding the one you already have, the time to get your seeds and your fertilizer is not in a few weeks. It is right now, before the shelves get picked clean and before prices climb even further. So let's talk about what you can actually do, because awareness without action does not protect your family, and there is genuinely a lot that you can do right now to get ahead of this. The single most important thing you can do is start building a food reserve if you have not already, and topping it off if you have. Focus on shelf-stable staple foods: rice, beans, oats, grains, pasta. These are the foods that store well, provide real nutrition, and form the foundation of a reliable home food supply. Invest in proper storage. 5-gallon buckets, Mylar bags, and oxygen absorbers will significantly extend the shelf life of everything you store. Think about what your household actually eats, and make sure you have enough of it to weather a period of high prices, short supply, or both. Do not overlook cooking essentials either. This is something people often miss when they are building out their food storage. During supply disruptions, basic cooking ingredients can disappear from store shelves just as fast as the food itself. Make sure you have cooking oil, whether that's vegetable oil, olive oil, or coconut oil. Stock up on salt, sugar, flour, baking powder, yeast, and vinegar. These are the things that make your stored food usable and that often get forgotten until they're gone. And while you're at it, take advantage of coupons. This is something that gets overlooked a lot, but we have been in an era of relatively low prices for a while, and most people have gotten out of the habit of clipping coupons. That habit is worth picking back up. When you get coupon books in the mail, do not throw them away. When you're at the grocery store, look for in-store coupon codes. Every dollar you save now is a dollar you can put toward building your reserves further.
On the fuel side, the most practical thing you can do right now is keep your vehicle tanks as full as possible at all times. Do not let them drop below half. If you have a generator or equipment that runs on fuel, make sure your stored fuel supply is topped up and that you are using a proper fuel stabilizer to keep it from degrading. Also, take care of vehicle maintenance now, before prices climb further. If your car is due for an oil change, get it done. Buy at least one oil change worth of supplies per vehicle so you have it on hand. And start thinking more intentionally about your fuel consumption in general. Consolidating errands, planning more efficient routes, and cutting out unnecessary trips all add up when prices are this elevated and heading higher. Beyond food and fuel, start thinking about the broader category of everyday essentials. Shipping disruptions affect far more than just food and gas. Many of the products we use every day rely on global supply chains that are under the same pressure. Stock up on batteries, hygiene products, cleaning supplies, and basic medicines. And if you take prescription medications, it's worth having a conversation with your doctor about getting an extra supply on hand if that's possible in your situation. Medications are something most people never think of as a supply chain item, but the reality is that many pharmaceutical products depend on the same global shipping infrastructure that is under stress right now. For those of you who are planning a garden this spring, this is probably the most time-sensitive piece of advice in this entire video. Go get your fertilizer now. Go get your seeds now. Do it this week if you can. Once the broader public catches on to the fertilizer shortage, you are going to see garden centers and farm supply stores get hit hard. And when you're planning what to grow this year, give serious thought to crops that are less fertilizer intensive. Corn, for example, is one of the most fertilizer-hungry crops. If you were planning on growing corn this year, it might be worth reconsidering, or at least scaling it back. Leafy greens, root vegetables, legumes like beans and peas, and many herbs require significantly less fertilizer and can still produce a meaningful amount of food for your household. Composting is also worth starting right now if you have not already. It takes a little time to get a compost system producing usable material, but it is one of the most effective long-term ways to reduce your dependence on synthetic fertilizer entirely. Kitchen scraps, yard waste, and organic material that you are probably throwing away right now can become a free, sustainable soil amendment that makes your garden more productive year after year. Finally, take a step back and think about your overall financial resilience. Economic disruptions tied to energy shocks historically lead to broader inflation and rising costs across the board. The most protective things you can do financially right now are to reduce unnecessary debt as aggressively as you can, build a cash reserve and keep some of it physically on hand, and focus your spending on things that will protect your household's long-term stability rather than discretionary purchases. Buying critical supplies gradually before prices rise further is one of the most practical forms of financial planning you can do in an environment like this one. The window to get ahead of this is open right now, but it is not going to stay open for long. The people who move first are the ones who are going to be in the best position when this situation fully develops. So take the information in this video seriously, make a list of what you need to do, and start working through it today. If this video was helpful to you, please give it a like and share it with someone you think needs to hear this. And make sure you are subscribed to Food Decider so you do not miss what we cover next. We will see you in the next one.